Hey guys, welcome back to I'm an Actor, Not a Therapist. I'm Sammy. So, what's going on? So, you guys, we have a very special episode today. He is Tamlin, High Lord of the Spring Court, but he also has a varied and successful stage career, including Wilbur in Hairspray and the title character of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. A graduate of St. Mary's College, and if you play video games, you may know him by his Twitch handle, Sprite VA. Welcome, Henry W. Kramer.
Pleasure to be here, Sammy. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So, yeah, stage and all that jazz. I didn't even mention to you guys that he also played the Rat King in the Nutcracker, which made me smile from ear to ear when I saw that.
I had a giant rat suit that I had to put on. I caught a cannonball on stage. The kids loved it. I was their favorite character.
That is brilliant. I absolutely love that. So speaking of performing and everything, how did you get into performing?
Well, do you want... There are two defining moments in my life that got me into performance. The first was before I was born. My mother was up in New York directing a play.
Oh.
And she was 7 months pregnant.
Okay.
And it is, I want to say, opening night.
Okay.
So she goes out, takes one step onto the backstage, and her water breaks.
No.
So she goes over to the assistant director and goes, Dave, or whichever his name is,
Yeah.
I'm leaving. He goes, what do you mean leaving? You can't leave. It's opening night. My water just broke. Oh. And I, much like a certain character from a certain Scottish play, am from my mother's womb untimely ripped. So I technically can kill the King of Scotland, but that's a story for another day. So, my mother, who is miles away from home, has just been gutted and stitched up and pumped full of drugs with shitty New York hospital food, her words, gets approached by the doctor. And the doctor goes, Madam, very heavy Indian accent, lovely man, very intelligent. Baby is doing fine. Baby is very healthy. But baby is occasionally forgetting to breathe. So even from a young age, I had a flair for the dramatics. And my poor mother screeches at the top of her 5'0" lungs, "Who's reminding him then?" So, obviously, I've always been a firm believer in getting to my cues early.
Yes.
The second defining moment was when I was 8. And my father was in a production of Richard III.
Ooh.
We were up in the nosebleeds, the rafters. And I had just recently learned about the concept of death and permanence, but not about faking it.
Right.
So my dad walks out on stage, and there's some guys with these long-ass rifles, and I go, "Oh, cool, Dad's there. Hi, Dad." And he goes behind this frosted glass wall, and I go, what's he doing? I wonder if he's gonna bang. Splat. As he hurled his body covered in fake blood into the glass wall and slowly slides down with a thump.
Oh, no.
And in the palpable 3 to 5 seconds of silence, as death is on the stage, all they can hear from the rafters is a heartbroken little boy go, "Daddy, no!"
Oh, no.
And my mother, who is with me, goes, No. Daddy's fine. Daddy's just pretending. It's all pretend. And I just go, "Dad's pretending? Cool." And I look at the stage as I see my father rise as a ghost and walk off stage. And I go, I want to do that. So from an early age, I was thoroughly convinced I knew what I wanted to do.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I think I was about 8 when I decided. My mom took me to see Beauty and the Beast. And during intermission, I looked at Mom. I said, I want to do that. She said, of course you do. Of course you do. It's like every concerned mom on this planet. Of course you want to do that. So, yeah, but I can only imagine the look on your face. That sounds like the beginning of your villain arc, by the way.
At the age of 8, I watched my father die.
And then all of a sudden, once you realize it was pretend, you're like, I want to do that.
Oh, God.
It's not a bad beginning.
I'm a murderous clown.
It's not a bad beginning. At least it happened in a safe space of a theater. I mean...
Look, I'm quite certain that many children seeing their parents die in front of them, it changes you from an early
a little
age.
bit.
I'm just glad that at least for my instance, it was pretend.
Yes. Oh my gosh, absolutely. So, your voice is really, really well known to book readers. What made you go from a really varied stage career, Jekyll and Hyde, Hairspray, Marriage of Figaro, which, by the way, the absolute...
Read was on the judge.
Exactly. Just, the whole range. How did you go from that to voice work?
Well, I was studying theater in college,
Mm-hmm.
and and this was before the arts program was shut down, I believe. Because I'm not sure if St. Mary's still has their arts department, because there have been, cuts and stuff. But one of my senior class upperclassmen, he was putting on an animated production, and he needed a villain voice, and I got into that by playing the Butcher, this big 300+ pound antagonist kind of thing, and I really enjoyed it. And it just so happens that not only are my parents performers, they're also voice actors in their own right.
Oh, wow.
So while I was studying theater, I asked them, hey, they're not really teaching me much outside of stage. Is there anything I can learn from you guys? I mean, aside from, bedtime stories from them growing up as a kid, which were awesome, mind you.
Oh.
When you get The Hobbit with a good Ian McKellen Gandalf impression, it's lit.
Oh, yeah.
But I started voice work technically in my last years of college. I would drive up on the weekends, record in a studio, which was 2 hours up from my college, and then drive back down.
Wow.
And then I would be doing shows and books and waiting tables after I graduated. And then once the pandemic hit, I already had a setup for my recording, and I decided, well, I'm not going out in public. I might as well do books full time.
There you go. I mean, if you already had the setup and things like that, why not?
Keep in mind, this was a very basic setup.
Believe me, I know basic setup. I know basic setup. It's, yeah.
I went from recording in a closet with, clothes and acoustics to a PVC pipe packing blanket cage to the studio I have today.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I've got the packing blanket cage right now. That's where I am at this point.
Hey, you're halfway there.
Right? Just gotta get a closet big enough to do the rest of it.
It really does help.
It does. It does. I gotta find room. So then, was that your first voice gig? Was that a professional voice gig, or was it just a college gig kind of thing?
That was technically a college gig. I was not paid for that one. But
do you remember Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. But that kind of just lit the flame for me and made me realize, because while I was in college, I was submitting auditions for other things, but I was also busy with my studies. And the one thing that I found in common was that I could do voice work anywhere.
Yeah. You really can. It's one of the few forms of art that is actually very portable to actually be performed on the spot.
And the amount of people that are impressed by the fact that I try and keep my voice always studio ready, so I can just give renditions at the drop of a hat, no warm-up, no nothing, is honestly, the look on their face is priceless.
That's an awesome way to be. I love that. So then, do you remember your first, like, professional paid voice role? And then how did you land that then?
My first professional paid voice role was actually a royalty share project with my very first author, who went by Stephen Craig McCullough, now just Craig McCullough. And we're actually just recently reconnected. Our first project was the Mirasil Chronicles. It was his first ever book, my first ever voiceover work. And we just recently got back together, and like, I had been sending stuff to his old email, and by some happenstance, he just happened to check it that day, and we are working to do a remastering of the original series. Better production and writing on his end, better voice acting and pacing on my end. So it's going to be the sequel reboot that no one ever expected, but I'm so looking forward to it.
Oh, that sounds amazing. That sounds awesome. Nothing like going back to like older works and just doing it better than you know you did the first time. I love that.
The amount of love I have in my heart for this man. He made a character in the series named after me called Heinrich. He's a crazy lich zombie wizard who lives in the swamp.
I love it.
And he can time travel and teleport through space.
Oh, come on now.
He's insane and he's awesome and I love it.
Oh, I cannot wait to hear this when it comes out. That sounds amazing.
That's all book 3, baby. That's all book 3.
Yes. Yes, that sounds awesome. So, you know, you've done a ton of work on stage. You've done a ton of voice work. Comparing the two worlds, do you find voice work to be isolating? Because like we were talking about before, theater is very much a team sport. You're in the same room with everybody all the time, whereas voice work, you could be by yourself just listening to somebody else's voice on headphones. Was that something that, you know, took a while to kind of figure all out and everything?
I would say that at first it was hard to give myself direction or characters to play off of. So starting out, it's definitely an isolating experience, especially when you're coming from live theater to voice work. It's night and day. But I learned to appreciate it over the years because, number one, I can make whatever voice I want for a character, and very few people are gonna look at me weird for it. And number two, there's far less drama. I don't have to worry about interpersonal relationships or if someone's like, you know, having an off day and being very sensitive to that. I can just focus on the work and that's it. And so in a way, while it can be a solo experience if you build yourself a community, which I have had the good grace to stumble upon, and make sure that you keep yourself in touch with that community, which a lot of voice actors through networking kind of have to. It's not as lonely an experience as you might think.
That's good to know. That really is. I think a lot of people, myself included, because I don't know the voice community as well as I probably should, you know, we see people like the cast of The Simpsons and things like that, and you just hear them like listening to a voice. As an actor that does stage, I would find that to be isolating, but I like the fact that there is like a whole community that connects itself, you know, and that there is creative freedom there that you might not get on stage or in a movie or something like that you all get to have.
The only limits are your imagination and the sounds you can make coming out of your mouth. That's it.
I love that. That is
That's a
awesome.
whole lot of fun. Seriously.
Oh boy. I love that so much. I have to use this booth for other things sometimes, maybe. So, we, as artists, and I've done it, I know others that have done it, I'm sure you've done it. One of the secrets of being an actor or a creative in general is being able to kind of balance several different projects at one time. I mean, none of us are ever just working on one thing. But as a voice artist, do you find that you take on more or less projects as, versus like somebody that does stage or film? And then do you feel that there's like an added element of pressure to that?
I would say that as a voice actor, I find myself taking on more projects than when I'm in a show, because when you're in a show, as I'm sure you're well aware, it takes time to get there, actually get working with everyone, and then going home and processing all of that. And it takes a surprising amount of brain space. And don't get me wrong, like, wonderful works can be done by that, but it's a very exhausting and taxing process. Versus when I'm working by myself, and I am my own director for these kinds of things, all I have to worry about are, did I think this take was good? Yes, moving on. And I can pace out what different things I do. And I've personally found that for voice work, I can fit in film bits here and there and schedule that. But for the most part, I like to just, instead of doing multiple things at a time, I try and schedule them out in advance, so that way I'm only, while I have a lot of work lined up, I'm only working on one thing at a time, because there's nothing worse than having an unfocused voice. Because if you mix up character voices, it's over.
Yeah.
And a lot of the books I have to keep track of 10 to 15 given voices at a time.
Wow. Because you narrate whole books then.
I do both. I do male and female voices.
Oh, okay.
I do it all.
Oh, wow.
I'm a whole package.
Wow. You're like the one-man shop then. You can do the whole thing then.
And there's a reason why I don't do the editing myself, and I recommend that my clients hire out their own editors. I focus on audio quality and performance quality, and anything else I do detracts from that.
Yeah. I can definitely see how that would definitely detract from that if you had to come up with like the whole polished package instead of just, here's my work, do with it what you want.
Insane.
And it would take up a lot more time, I would imagine.
Oh, I work with a couple of editors. The guy I've been working with the longest, his name is Eric. He is my go-to guy. He is phenomenal. He makes it so that my really good but still kind of rough around the edges gets polished to a fine shine.
Ooh. So does it go to...
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, any voice actor worth their salt is either a whiz at editing themselves or knows a guy. And Eric's my guy.
So then do you run it through him before you submit it to people, or is he afterwards?
It depends on the project. Sometimes I have multiple different voice packages that I offer people. For instance, I'm working with this one client. Can't say anything more right now, but it is a very in-depth poetry collection. And each of the poems is very explicit and very specific to that author. So before I send them to Eric for like editing in terms of any mistakes or audio quality, I make sure to talk with them to make sure that everything sounds good. But let's say I've got maybe like a 400 to 500 page project that I'm going to run through Eric just to give a general cleanup before we send it to the client for any final notes of, hey, I want this voice changed, or hey, there was this kind of mistake that I saw, so it's all good.
Yeah. I could see how that would work. So then you would do like in segments then, if it was like a bigger project then?
We typically record the whole script, send it to them, they send us back the corrections, we do the corrections, the editor plugs them back in, and then we send that to the client.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
And that's before the final editing and mastering, so that way we're not wasting our time.
Right.
It's a dance.
Right. And it goes back and forth, and then at some point y'all are both happy, and then it goes out for the rest of the world.
Exactly.
Huh. That I love everything about that, because that is it is the creative process just in a different way.
And that's also why I don't feel so alone, because even if I'm not physically there with people, I'm constantly talking to authors, I'm talking to editors, I'm talking to prospective clients, I'm talking to other professionals, I'm talking to people who want to get into what I do and don't know where to start. We're voice actors. Our voice is our power. And the more power to share there is, the stronger we're all together.
Exactly. That totally makes sense. It's just such a different world, but it's also kind of the same kind of creative space. I can definitely see the differences. Medium. Exactly. You know, just like anything creative or artistic, it's always going to be like a back and forth kind of collaborative dance.
No, art doesn't exist in a vacuum.
No, it can't. You can't create you can create by yourself, but at the same time, it's still a team sport. You know, I can choose as a playwright, I can choose to not take on a co-writer, but at the end of the day, I need people to read it to make it make sense.
Because otherwise, there might be something that you're missing that you don't even know, because there's only so much that you can see from your viewpoint.
Exactly, especially if you're super close to the project. You know,
it's personal, and then you're like, oh, I can't bear, but then someone else is like, oh, what's that?
Exactly, or like you record a voice and you're like, I like it, and somebody else goes, why did you do that? Do it different. Yeah, it's definitely a dance. Well, speaking of voices, I happened to find you through a mutual friend, and I also found you through a wonderful book series, A Court of Thorns and Roses, or for those in the circle, we call it ACOTAR. How did Tamlin, High Lord of the Spring Court, come tumbling into your life?
Well, much like all of Tamlin's story, it begins with a wonderful woman. This wonderful woman's name is Colleen Delaney. She was one of the casting directors and my director for the story of this series at Graphic Audio. She was the head person in charge of this project, and she was with Sarah J. Maas through the entirety of the casting project, and we went through several rounds of casting. And eventually, I was slated to audition for 2 roles.
Oh.
One is the titular Tamlin, High Lord of the Tamlin, High Lord of the Spring Court. And the other was Lucian.
No way.
Yahweh. I was almost Lucian.
Whoa. Wow. Okay.
But I sent in my auditions for the characters, and eventually it came down to, hey, we want you to be Tamlin. And that was the biggest role I had ever landed with Graphic Audio up to that point.
Wow.
I'd been the love interest for a couple other series, Ryder Bailey in Ordinary Magic, and I think Dust, the robotic assassin / love bot in Wasted Space. But aside from that, I'd only ever really played minor villains or henchmen, so it was a really big deal.
Yeah, I would say so.
But I didn't realize how big it would be.
Did you have any idea what the book series was and stuff?
No, I'd never heard of it up until that point. I was like, oh, cool. Oh, cool. I get to play a Fey Lord? What's his name, Tamlin? Huh. My first thoughts of the character after I read through the first, because the scripts are released in first half, second half part. The first half was, he's just like a big old puppy. He's abandoned and he wants love. And then by the end of the second book, I was just going, Jesus fucking Christ, Tamlin, what the hell? My PTSD prince, come on, my dude, my guy, you I get that you're more broken than the aftermath of a bull in a china shop, but still, you gotta try.
I absolutely love that because I think we all think of it the same way. We're like, God damn it, Tamlin.
It's just and if I may elaborate.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I've realized playing this character is that we don't see Tamlin ever whole. He has always been traumatized and abused and broken, whether it be from his time in the military, doing something he hated to do, whether it be his time at court, doing something he was in no way prepared to do, whether it be receiving a curse that basically there was no way in hell he was ever supposed to fix it, because he was the one who was supposed to fix it. And the fact that he had all of that responsibility on his shoulders, but no one close to share it with, that kind of pressure and isolation would drive anyone to acts of insanity, lashing out, self-isolating, self-medicating. And Tamlin has, while not becoming a main focus in my life, because he was several performances ago, he still has become a very important chapter, because it shows, and I do have to credit Sarah with the introduction of this character, because she had us all fooled. We thought he was going to be the primary love interest in the first book. But once the rose-tinted glasses fell away, all of his red flags started coming to the surface because of one very important thing. He had never been in a situation that was outside of his control. And we'd never seen him responding to one of his stressors before. And I appreciated that this story showed that it was okay to leave someone in that kind of scenario. That they gotta work on their shit. And sometimes they gotta do it without you.
Exactly. Yeah, Tamlin needs therapy.
It is one of the most phrases I've ever said about the ACOTAR series. My boy Tim Tam needs that therapy.
He does. I could give you a list of the ones that should just sit in on one big group session. one big session. We'll get back to him in a second. But we are not done with Tim Tam. But we've talked about this kind of off camera and stuff, off audio. It was actually the first conversation that we had. We had this conversation about instant gratification as artists. because you and I were talking about how as a voice actor, sometimes that instant gratification of, say, going on stage, you don't necessarily get as kind of a voice artist. You know, you said something like people don't actually realize that you're Tamlin until you say something as Tamlin. You know, was that something that you kind of had to get used to, or do you kind of enjoy like the mystery and the anonymity?
That's a good one. I would say that when I went to, and a prime example of the anonymity was when I went to the Books, Gowns, and Crowns Chapter 2 down in Tampa, Florida. I was walking the around, you know, checking out all the different sites and talking to people. And after I introduced myself as the voice of Tamlin, a couple of them went, "Yeah, no way." And then one person came back and went, "Wait, seriously?" And I was, "Yeah." And it wasn't. And even when I was introduced as Tamlin by the event coordinator on the night of the costume contest, it wasn't until the next day after, during the trivia, where I was up on stage with a microphone and said, "It's come to my attention that some of you are under the impression that I am just a fan of Tamlin. And I want to set the record straight in that I am Tamlin." And the shock and awe on everyone's face was absolutely hysterical.
I love it.
I will say, while it still takes some getting used to, because once people who are fans realize what I am and what I do enjoy the surprise look of, "Oh, he's just a little guy." And then it's like, "Wait, what?"
Right.
Always leave them guessing.
Absolutely. You can't show everybody your full hand at one time, then what's the point of the game?
If I had the conventional height of like 5'8" to 5'10", I would have been too powerful. I had to be a 5'6" short king. That was the only way that the gods could make it fair for everyone else.
That's right. What's that, big voices in little packages or something like that?
I'm a little guy, but I got a lot of resonance. I'm barrel-chested for a reason.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Yeah, it's because I do musical theater, and I am a strong mezzo-soprano with a soprano belt. I don't know how that works. But I'm also 4'11". So I've made more than one jaw drop with, "Holy crap, she really just did that." I'm like, ask me to do it again. I dare ya.
Amazing.
Oh yeah, I've made more than one director's jaw drop. It's actually kind of cool to do it. It's like a superpower that nobody realizes you have.
Hey, we got to keep them guessing, and one of the best ways to get the advantage on someone is to let them underestimate you.
Absolutely, and then watch what you can do.
Because that just makes what you can do all the more awesome.
Absolutely. I love, like you said, like the shock and awe on people's face. Like that's the best. That's the best part.
It's one of the reasons why I enjoy the fact that for right now, people don't know my face. They just know my voice. Because I can change my voice quite easily.
Yes, you can.
Like, even right now, this is my customer service voice because it's the easiest to project.
Right.
If I hold on. If I just actually relax, this is closer to my actual relaxed voice. But as you can see or hear, it's more soft and it doesn't cut through crowds. So I have to give it a little bit more tenor, put it more into my chest rather than my diaphragm, and that's my customer service voice. I perfected this serving tables at a beer hall in DC.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you said customer service voice. My entire body went, no! Because I worked in customer service and call center for so many years, so I know the customer service voice.
Hello, sir. How are you doing today? My name is... okay. Yeah.
Okay, thanks so much. Okay, then. Yeah.
The poor abuse.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, I could tell you stories. So, going back to Tim Tam, so you get you get this script and you know nothing about this character. Absolutely nothing. What was your first impression of him, and what drew you to him as an actor? What drew you to him?
I love, because the character description I was given by my director was that he is a militant prince. He was in the army, and his power is from his emotions and from his rage specifically. And I was like, ooh, as a short guy with a short temper, I could understand that. Mm-hmm. So I saw quite a bit of myself in this character, in how he struggled, especially since he was of nobility and of the courts. You are expected to, at all times, maintain a certain level of decorum, which, for any of you who have been a part of the armed forces or the arts, there's a lot of similarities, surprisingly. Mm-hmm. You are expected to employ your emotions, or there's not as much emphasis on reining in anything, and you can be more free. And to have to button everything up and hide behind the veneer of polite society was something that I thought pissed him off. Mm-hmm. And that he was only ever comfortable at home, and even then, only when he was outside the walls of his palatial home. Mm-hmm. And at first, I gave him a very gruff and angry a rendition, but through the recording sessions, we refined the voice to less aggressive and more assertive, more confident. Mm-hmm. But my initial impression of the character was, this is a guy who is constantly holding a monstrous temper in check. And doing a damn good job.
Until he's not.
Until he's not. But we don't talk about when he's not, because no one remembers. Totally. No one on staff does, anyway.
Yeah, no one on staff is ever going to remember.
I pay you to forget my outbursts.
Exactly. Well, Alice remembers. Alice remembers everything. Poor Alice. She's just seen some stuff.
Who hasn't?
I know. Apparently his court. His court hasn't seen anything. It's like if you saw Tamlin fly into a fit of rage. No, you didn't.
Fuck you mean? You see what you saw what didn't happen to that chair? Fuck that.
You see what didn't happen to that wall? What hole? There's no hole in the wall.
It's all patched up. No, it's just wall patching up. I didn't see nothing. I didn't see shit.
Oh, I might have an idea for some videos now. That would be funny. That would be funny. All the repair work going down on the palace.
It doesn't help that Lucian, his bestie, is there because he feels he has an obligation to him. And when you have that kind of power imbalance, you're gonna look past a lot of red flags.
Yeah. I feel like Lucian's just there to kind of put his proverbial hand over Tamlin's mouth and go, that's an inside thought. We don't say that on the outside. That's an inside thought, Tamlin.
But all the soldiers thought it was, No. No. Buddy, we're not in the field no more. You
exactly.
Gotta button up.
Yeah, you can't say that. Yeah, you can't say that to girls. Girls don't like that.
Buddy's
fine. Oh, Tamlin. So we're like sitting here picking on poor Tamlin because let's face it, sometimes he deserves it.
Sometimes.
All the time he deserves.
To be fair, just because he's a victim doesn't justify his treatment of others. It explains it, but it doesn't justify it.
Right. At the end of the day, he's still a, terrible person.
A terrible person who was trying to do what he thought was the best he could in a situation where there was no right outcome.
Right. The rock and the hard place kind of decisions.
And I'm sure many military people can attest, when both of your options are shit choices, you're going to choose the one that you feel is less shitty. Regardless of the backlash that people get you, because they weren't there. So even if I do talk shit on Tamlin, I will, maybe defend is not the right word, but it's the best I can come up with of, look, he was dealt a shit hand. and he thought he was doing as best he could, and the situations leading up to his eventual fall did not help, because let's be honest, Feyre needed therapy too.
Yes, far before she met him.
Neither of them were communicative.
No.
And they needed to talk shit out.
Yes. Either to each other or to other people. It didn't matter who, just...
You gotta bottle that shit up.
Or vent it out. Don't bottle that shit up. If the holes in the palace wall have taught us anything, don't bottle shit up.
He punched a smiley face. He's in a good mood. Wait a minute. Why is there a series of oh. That's not a smile. That's a rictus.
No one go near Tamlin today.
Boss, you might want to go out hunting. Just shoo.
Yeah.
It's for your own good, I promise.
Yeah. I mean, we're sitting here ripping on Tamlin. Those that know him, like, we can sit here and joke about how absolutely flawed this man is and how bad his decisions are. But how do you view him? I feel like you're the one, besides the author, obviously, who's kind of gotten to know him the best and kind of gotten as close to the character as you can without actually, like, sitting down in his, imaginary court and everything like that. How do you view him, and why do you feel like he makes the decisions he does? Because let's face it, the things that happen are decisions.
I think, and I am going to go on a tiny tangent here.
Go ahead.
One of the best descriptions that I heard about the difference between a tragedy and a comedy is that a tragic hero is a hero who is in the wrong story. Tamlin had all of the makings and all of the trappings of being a hero. He's strong, he's compassionate, he's protective, he loves fiercely. He is one of the most emotional lords of the High Court I have ever seen in writing. And he's willing to shoulder burdens and do the things people don't want to do. He was willing to sacrifice his dearest friend if it meant breaking the curse for everyone. But the problem was the story didn't want or need a hero like that. And so my official viewing of Tamlin is that he's a tragic hero who doesn't know that he's in the wrong story, and who still, to this day, I feel, in his own deeply flawed way, still wants to and is trying to do good. One of the things that I've told some people is that I don't read the portions of these books that don't have Tamlin, because Tamlin doesn't know all of the machinations of what's going on around him, because he is utterly alone. He has no support group. He has no allies outside his court, especially not after they were turned against him by a lie. He has been betrayed. He has been lied to by the people he thought he could love and trust. And he has made deals that, he regrets, but he thought that they would do good. And so, in my opinion, I can't help but still love him. Because as deeply flawed as he is, he didn't know that a human could handle that power. He thought she would die. And rightly so, because 9 times out of 10, most humans would. Not his fault he didn't know she was the 1 in a billion.
Right.
But I also acknowledge that I am severely biased.
but that's okay. You're allowed to be biased. You are Tamlin, so you're fine. You're fine.
No, it's one of those things where I just feel like he needs a fucking hug.
Mm-hmm.
He needs a hug and a pat on the back and a said, hey, you did a good job. Mm-hmm. You did the best you could.
Yeah, he did the best he could with the information in front of him. Go take a nap.
Go take a nap.
There you go. And it's got to come from Lucian, or he's not going to listen.
No, God. No. Lucian is his bestie.
That's right. Exactly. Lucian tells him to go take a nap, he's going to go take a nap. Feyre tells him to go take a nap, he's going to be like, get out of here. Go sit in your room.
You don't tell me what to do, only Lucian tells me what to do. You're not my mom. That's Lucian's job.
That is the very interesting dynamic between the three of them, isn't it? Like,
Lucian is mom. He's the mom friend.
Lucian is in every way, shape, and form.
He's like, sweetie, have you had your milk? Have you had your milk and chocolate cookies yet? No.
No.
I'm pouting.
That's why there's a hole.
Do we want to say why we're pouting? No.
No.
Just no.
And that's why there's a hole in the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Again. The characters get more... I'm on my first read-through of the books, so I'm literally discovering these characters that my friends all already know, and, you know, I get to certain parts, and they're like, just keep reading. I'm like, I don't wanna, it hurts. And they're like, just keep reading.
Why?
Exactly.
Why? My babies. No. It's okay. The bad men can't hurt you anymore. Just tell me what the writer made you do. It's okay, baby. It's okay.
Except that when you're talking to Tamlin, you're like, yeah, no, we don't do that again. I don't care what the writer says.
No,
don't do that again.
No. Honestly, just take a vacation to Earth. Fuck off. Fuck off without them. See how soon they go, oh, we need Tamlin's strength. Yeah, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens when their usual punching bag goes away and they realize a lot of the problems stem from them not talking.
Yeah, right? Oh my gosh. There's a lot of things will get resolved in this series with just talking. If Feyre had just
told him, hey, I don't think we're compatible, he probably would have listened. Or at least gone the whole, hey, let's make this a political marriage instead of an actual one.
Exactly.
He's courtly. He gets it.
Yeah, it's fine. We'll figure it out. Yeah. And then Lucian's just there.
To be fair, like, in the words of Aubrey Plaza, this is my boyfriend, and this is my boyfriend's boyfriend.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, it's a very... Wow. Yeah, it's a very, Corey, Sean, and Topanga relationship from Boy Meets World. Oh, yeah. It very much so is. Gosh. And Tamlin is such an interesting character from, like, a reader's perspective, because he has such a sharp evolution. There is no middle ground. Either he's this even-mannered High Lord, or he absolutely hates Feyre, wants to protect her, throws her in a room, or, you know, just in general just hates her. Like, he's so over the top. Why do you think he has such a sharp, quick evolution like that? There is no, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's no build up to him. It's just he goes from A to Z overnight.
I was always taught, or at least had the understanding, that love and hate are two sides of the same coin. It is extreme passion, whether directed at someone positively or negatively. And when you have someone from that kind of background, with that kind of power that a High Lord has, with that kind of emotion, it makes perfect sense to me. Sarah wrote a character who was extreme. And who had to bottle it. I'm sure everyone here has hated The feeling of having to bottle up emotions, especially either affection or rage, not being able to love the person you love, or not being able to express your frustration at something, takes its toll and withers your patience. And when that evolution of that overwhelming desire and passion turns to rage and hatred when she spurned him, it completely made sense to me. Especially if you're dealing with someone who doesn't know how to healthily control their emotions, who doesn't have a good handle on where to direct that and is often led by their passion. Because Tamlin, if we're going off of the Myers-Briggs, he's all feels. He don't think. He moves with his heart, and he does what he thinks is right, even if what he thinks is right is not actually right and often very scary.
Yes. Yeah. Which is I think, again, I'm reading it through it the first time. I think that's actually talked about in the book. I think Rhysand at some point says that to Feyre, where he said, I control with my brain, he controls with his heart, essentially. It's not the exact line, but something along those lines, because he's trying to give her as much information about the differences as possible so she can go back. But I think that that's actually discussed in one of the books, how he actually decides to lead, which is good and bad.
Yeah, because you want someone like that on the battlefield. You want someone who can inspire the troops and lead you to victory in that moment. That's a battlefield commander or general. That's someone who's like, I would have a drink with this man and I would follow this man to the ends of the earth. That's Tamlin. But at the same time, should you not be with him, you're immediately against him.
Yes.
Because anything other than total either submission or allyship is seen as a threat. And we all know what Tamlin was taught to do to threats.
Yeah.
Eliminate them with extreme prejudice.
Yeah. Because he doesn't have that middle ground. He was never taught that middle ground.
And it's evident in, the very beginning of when we meet him.
Yes. When he literally just kidnaps her out of her house as the biggest beast mode he possibly could.
What about that says subtle?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
He goes from 0 to 100 in 0.2 seconds.
Yeah, and she didn't even know he existed yet. He met her at 100. And then as they walked, he got down to, a normal person.
It's like, oh, so... okay. That's fine. I'm not scared.
No. The whole front of my dad's house is gone, and my sisters are terrified, but we're good, we're fine. It's all fine.
Scarred for life.
It's okay. It's okay. It's like that meme with the dog and the fire. It's like, that's fine. Everything's fine. This is fine. This is fine.
Oh, God. If that's not Tamlin right now, I don't know who is.
I know, right? Oh my gosh.
Spoilers.
Oh, we're gonna try to keep spoilers, but come on, if you haven't read the books, get on that. Get on that. Do it. So then, were you surprised by how quick he changed, or no?
As in from love to hate?
Yeah, as from, being very, almost very protective and gentle with her to, after Under the Mountain, it's, I'm gonna lock you in a house so that you literally can't see any more of my world kind of thing. And then just, from that to just utter hatred for her for a while.
Under the Mountain was the beginning of the end for him because he was always taught to try and keep a handle on the situation. Feyre's an unknown. When you have an unknown, you lock it away for observation, and that's not what she needed. Yes, he responded poorly, but he's going through proper protocol. And then to have what he views as rational thought be spurned and then betrayed, No, it was a very understandable sequence of events that ultimately led to his mental decline.
Yeah. Poor Tamlin.
After a certain point, he's got to start to learn.
He does. Yeah.
Like, I get it. You can be hurt.
Yes.
But you can either let that hurt define you,
and
let it control you, or you can rise above and exist in spite of it.
Right. And unfortunately, he goes more to it controls him, and...
Yeah.
Which is not healthy, man. Tamlin, no.
And this is also something that I see mirrored in a lot of my friends who have been in situations, whether it be through family drama or work drama or the military or the arts or what have you. That kind of hurt can easily, whether it be physically or mentally or emotionally, it can cripple people. And that the amount of patience you need, not only with others, but most importantly yourself, is truly staggering. To drag yourself out of that and to try and, if nothing else, compartmentalize it and rise above it. And
yeah,
even to a Fey Lord, that is a monumental task that not everyone is up to the challenge.
Yeah.
And Tamlin is a prime example of what happens when you, in fact, do not put the work in.
Yes, in a big way.
All the potential of a hero.
Yeah. And all the trauma that comes with it.
Yeah. Heroes often lead very traumatic lives.
They do!
They are powerful, they are mighty, they can help, but they're also horribly broken on the inside.
They are, which I think gives them an added element to be the heroes they are. Because most heroes want to save people so that they're not as broken as the hero is.
Batman can be quoted as saying, Robin needed to bring the man who killed his parents to justice so he wouldn't end up like me.
Oh, there you go.
One of my favorite quotes from The Dark Knight, because it just shows how aware he is of his own issues.
Because
do you think a mentally adjusted person would run around as a giant bat in a costume punching people?
No, probably not. I don't see that on my not traumatized person card there. No.
I don't see Jeff Bezos dressing up as a bat and doing that. Although he's more Lex Luthor than if anything else. So.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So, Tamlin. We're like tearing Tamlin apart because we can.
Look, in order to build yourself up, you have to tear down all your preconceived notions you held about yourself so you can get to the core of who you are and what hurt you so you can fix it. And
That's
necessary shit-talking is often a part of that, whether it be from others or from yourself.
Absolutely. So we see Tamlin get really possessive of Feyre really fast. You know, even before Under the Mountain, he's very obsessive and possessive of her. Do you think that Tamlin was actually in love with her, or do you think he was just so desperate to break that curse that he mistook the desperation for love?
No one's ever asked me that.
Well, then let me be the first.
I would like to think that a genuine love did in fact blossom, but it wasn't there at first. Because when you... If you recall, during the early stages of when she was hanging out at his place, he was a little bit aloof and did give her some freedoms. But once we see him interact with her more, his first instinct is to keep her away from things rather than let her explore.
Right.
And when someone of great emotion and passion loves something, they can get very possessive in the vein of, I must protect this thing. Because, I mean, the bog.
The bog.
That thing can kill.
Yes.
And that thing can hurt even him.
Yes.
And, like, so it's not entirely unnecessarily that he's trying to keep her out of the limelight, but I'm going back and forth a lot. So my final thoughts on this are, I think at first he had a genuine curiosity and hope, and that hope turned into a possessiveness of, oh my God, I might be able to do this. And from there, because he had hope, that's when the love began. So I think my answer is, it's both.
Okay.
But the reason why he also turned so quickly is that he did have genuine love for her. Because you don't start a war over someone that you're like, or mine. You go to war for the people you love.
Right.
At least I would hope.
For that kind of destruction, you'd kind of really hope. Because, once the war started,
there was not a lot of happy fun times left.
No, there really wasn't. Oh gosh, no. And then that whole scene at the meeting when he just kind of bursts in like a bat out of hell and everything. What are you doing, dude? And he literally just sits there staring her down the whole time while he's spouting off.
I mean, the way I saw it was, how would you feel if you had to go to a work meeting to save your company, and your ex who dipped on you for the guy you hate is there? I don't know about you, but I'd just be going.
Just the look.
What? What you gonna do? Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah. That entire scene, I'm just like, oh, the temper tantrum just started. Good. Oh, good. He brought the temper tantrum with him.
If there's one thing that Tamlin does not lack, it's drama.
Yeah, for real. For real. Oh, God. So for you as an actor doing Tamlin, did you do any kind of character development? Because, as actors, that's one of the things that we're kind of taught, is to kind of do deep dives and character development and how did this character grow up and, finding that character.
Yes.
Was that something you did for him?
I did, because I learned a process in college on how to embody a character on stage, and I applied that to voice work as well. So first I had to find, where does this character live bodily? Is he light on his feet? Is he heavy? Is he a bit hunched? Is he tall and proud? Does his voice start in his chest, in his diaphragm, in his throat? Is he a man of action, or is he a man of conviction? So many things just for the body work, and then and that was just to find where the voice would live, which I conveniently found was actually closer to my actual voice. And what his voice was, I did a deep dive with the director Colleen, where we went, okay, so he's a noble, so he's not talking like this, but he's military, so he's gruff, he's not polished and refined. He is well-spoken and knows how to speak, but he's gruff, rough, and ready for action. So those defining characters in addition to finding where the voice lives, because I do this for all the main characters of my works, I'm lucky enough that most authors give me a breakdown of who the character was and where they came from, because where someone has been can inform you where they are going and where they are right now.
Right, absolutely. And like I said, as an actor, we're taught in school, one of the many things that we're taught during our classes is how to build one of the many things, besides how to cry on cue at 7:45 in the morning. I mean, I know, right? Feel the things. Is how to build these characters so that they're more real for us, and the difference between, say, doing a show on stage or in a film and doing it for voice is that you're not putting the costume on. You're not going to look like this character. So I would think that building that character from the ground up would even be more important for you, so you have a mental image of what he looks like, so you know what he sounds like.
Having a costume easily helps me get into character, and since I didn't have that, I had to be ironclad about where this character lived. I was also lucky enough to be able to talk with my director and say, hey, like, if you had to, just because we talked about what his primary emotions were most of the time. And while one might think rage or anger was there, that was one of his secondary. His primary was a feeling of protection. He wanted people to be safe, because he, above all else, was a lord who took things to heart. He felt responsible for his people, and he felt that their safety was his paramount. He wasn't like the lords of the summer, being all infighty. He wasn't like the lords of night, being secretive and having to work dubious. And keep in mind, as a reader and such, all power to Rhysand for working that shitty situation. But you could feel his emotion to his guards, to his men. He was a person who, above all else, just wanted to keep things safe.
Right. At the end of the day, that's all he really wanted before everybody kind of turned on him. For reasons.
Valid and unvalid as they may be. Because there were some that were not as valid and some that were very valid. Which we will not say because spoilers, because we're cool
spoilers.
Like that. Spoilers.
Yeah, that's right.
Spoilers.
We won't do it. So I think the big thing, I think we touched on something, kind of comparing Rhysand to Tamlin. And it's funny if you talk to ACOTAR readers and they're just starting the series, everybody's Team Tamlin. Everybody starts Team Tamlin. And then by the time you get to the middle of the second book is where you start seeing the division, either Team Rhysand or Team Tamlin. Yes. And I love being part of this war. I still have not definitively picked a side, by the way.
Don't. The real winners are the people on the sidelines going, pass the popcorn.
Exactly, right? But those that are on Team Tamlin, everybody says the same thing. Tamlin needs a redemption arc. Everybody on Team Tamlin, everybody says the same thing. So you, being on Team Tamlin, obviously, do you want a redemption arc for him as well? And if so, what do you think would be in that redemption arc for him?
Now, with this redemption arc, I'm hesitant to say I want a redemption arc, because that would imply that no one else did anything wrong.
Okay.
A redemption arc is what a character does when they have betrayed a story arc or a story member that didn't do anything wrong to them. So while the colloquial redemption arc is justifiable, I would say less of I want Tamlin to have a redemption arc and more I want Tamlin to have the opportunity to be the hero I know he could be. So I guess if you want to put it plainly, yes, I do think he should have a redemption arc, and I think he should be given the opportunity to do what he has always wanted to do without anyone getting in the way, and is just to save someone. To keep something safe. And maybe part of that arc is him learning that there are more definitions of keeping something safe or protected than exist in his understanding or his teachings of it. And maybe that's a part of the story. But I think, personally, he has the capability to be the hero of any story. He just needs some goddamn therapy.
Or shock treatment, whatever comes first.
I mean, we saw how Amaranth treated him. We know he's used to it.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Yeah, really? Oh man. Yeah, that's kind of like the overarching thing that I've noticed as I've gotten through the books, is the overwhelming amount of people that want him to be the hero or to like have that redemption arc. So yeah, that makes sense.
He's such a good character for it too. He's such a
Prince
Zuko type.
Oh,
he's all about that honor, baby.
Yes. Yeah. So maybe one day, maybe I'll write it for you. Who knows?
Oh.
Maybe I'll write it for you.
If Sarah J. Maas ever comes up to me and says, "Hey, I'm doing a thing for a redemption arc for Tamlin, and we need you back," I'm on the line, baby. Let's go.
That's right. That's right. Let's do this thing. We write it down. Why not? That would actually be really cool. Get on that, Sarah J. Maas. Get on that.
not to tell you your business. Just we
No.
are politely requesting that you consider maybe a little bit of an offshoot. I don't know what final plans you have for Tim Tam, the Wonder Man.
Right. But we would very nicely request, please and thank you. Please and thank you.
We're asking so nicely. Please.
We ask for so little. We ask for so little. Maybe we don't. Maybe we don't. So like this has been amazing, but going back to voice works, you as an actor, what's a piece of advice about doing voice work you wish you would receive before getting started, and what kind of advice would you give to an actor looking to break into voice acting?
There's been a lot I've learned because, as I said earlier, both my parents are in the industry, so technically I'm a legacy kid. So I've heard it all growing up, and trust me, my family tried to steer me away from voice acting as much as possible. They're like, "No, you are you sure you don't want to try this instead? It's a lot of work." So there is a lot that I did hear growing up, but one of the things I wish I'd heard more of before I was later in my career was, don't be so serious. I know it's an oxymoron because we try to take what we do seriously, but in the moment when you are doing the work, allow yourself to have fun and revel in the character, in the story, and let yourself get lost in the script and feel the emotions, and not just be so like, I am outside of this story and I'm pulling from it, but let the story flow through you and influence your characters' voices, and it will give you a much better just overall production. And slow the fuck down when you're reading. People don't need to listen to you go that fast. You can say things slowly and you will come off clearer and more confident than if you're trying to talk like this.
Yeah.
Because then it feels like you're trying to just rush right through.
Right. I think a lot of people don't realize how fast they might read, so that sounds like a skill.
And to answer the question of someone trying to break into the series, I hate to say it, but there is no one magic thing. The only thing there is, and that you will learn this, is the work. And the work speaks for itself. And so if you can't find it, make it. Or find people to make it for you. Do character voices for an abridged series. Find comic strips to animate with your friends. Audition for short stories or long stories and just try. Because you never know what's going to be the thing that you end up falling in love with. I am extremely lucky, and also my situation is incredibly bizarre, that I grew up in a family of artists, knowing from a young age what I wanted to do, and having the opportunity and the situations in my life to fall into place where I could pursue that. And so a lot of people come to me as saying, I wish I had done this sooner in my life, or I wish I had gotten started on this earlier. And I always want to say to them, don't regret your life up until this point. It's not going away. The art, the performance, it is always there, waiting for you. And maybe you were at a point in your life where you weren't ready to pick up that brush or get on stage or get behind the microphone. Maybe you didn't feel like you had enough life experience to do this, and that's okay. Art is one of those things where you can't age out of. It will always be there for you. So don't feel like you have to rush it. Enjoy it. Enjoy your journey and what makes your art special.
I like that. And I think that more artists need to hear that. Because I think that, you know, with social media being what it is and how fast people can come and go, you know, it's a good reminder that, you know, art doesn't go anywhere. It's, at the end of the day, it's still there.
One thing that I also have to remind myself is that overnight success is a lie. It's a myth. For every quote-unquote overnight success, there's 5 to 10 years worth of hard work behind the scenes, establishing yourself, making those connections, getting that practice. All this, the sudden whirlwind rush of fame you see some people get, whether or not you feel that they have bought it or earned it or they're talented or not, it is the result of, regardless of anything else, hard work. And you just have to remind yourself that it's there for you too. You never know when or where it might come from, but it will find you. You just have to keep trying.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming to hang today. And guys, like, comment, subscribe, leave comments, find us on Insta, find me on TikTok, find Henry on TikTok. Henry, what is your TikTok handle, Henry?
At HW Kramer or HW Kramer VO. It varies for some reason.
Anyway, find us both on social media, and I hope you guys will come back next time for I'm an Actor, Not a Therapist. Have a great night, y'all.